Good morning and welcome to ODOT STAR webinar. My name is Paula Hyman from the Ohio LTAP Center, and I'll be your technical support for today. Just a couple of items. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please type those into the questions pod, and our presenter will address those questions throughout the presentation. This is being recorded. Providing that the recording is successful, the YouTube link and a copy of the presentation will be emailed to all participants. I want to thank you in advance for your participation today, and I'm going to pass things off to Ms. Vicki Fout, Research Program Manager with ODOT's Office of Statewide Planning and Research. Vicki?
Thank you, Paula. Good morning, everyone. As Paula said, my name is Vicki Fout. I'm from ODOT's Research Program, and I'm here to talk with you all this morning about STAR, the Student Transportation Advancement Research Program. Some of you may be familiar with this. STAR is a competition that we have here at ODOT. It is a grant-funded, grant-style program that is run by ODOT's research program utilizing SPNRB funds, and it's focused on students. The overall goal of STAR is to engage the next generation of transportation professionals in Ohio by having ODOT technical staff work directly with students on transportation research topics, and it gives the students an opportunity to learn how practitioners deal with issues in the field and also develop skills related to managing projects and overall general communication. Another goal of the program is to encourage innovation. This program is meant to challenge students and ODOT experts to examine traditional transportation topics in a different way and to get them to think outside of the box. Now, innovation's been a really big buzzword over the last couple of years. It's had a lot of different meanings, but when we're talking about the STAR program and innovation, what we're looking for is ways to identify novel approaches to solve issues, create new value by adding new processes or techniques to establish topics, or to just simply test out some new ideas. Now, I mentioned that STAR is all about students, and the research teams that are put together to conduct STAR projects are comprised of students. They can be undergraduates, graduates, or a combination thereof. There will be an academic advisor that will serve as the principal investigator, providing oversight, guidance, and technical direction to the student team. But students are truly expected to drive the project and actively participate in all aspects of it. This includes actually being present at the meetings, participating in the meetings, developing presentations to give to your TACs, and actually giving the presentations to the TACs so that they can experience what that's like. STAR was first piloted last year in July of 2022. The very first STAR RFP was issued in September. During that, we had a total of 10 topics that were posted. From that, 6 STAR grants were actually awarded. The very first STAR project started in January. When we got a little bit further along in this year, we sent out a survey to get some feedback from the academic community and also the ODOT folks to see what you all thought about the pilot program of STAR. What you liked, what you didn't like, what you thought would enhance it, make it better. And based on the feedback we got, we have made some changes. So during this presentation, we'll talk about what's the same and what's going to be different for STAR program for fiscal year 2024. Well, one of the items that is remaining the same is the schedule. ODOT's been very busy the whole month of August coming up with topics and requests to put out for the STAR RFP, which we do expect to be issued sometime next week. It will be open for at least 4 weeks, so it will be closing in October. Once it closes, we will be taking the submissions that came in, reviewing them with the ODOT subject matter experts, deciding which ones should be awarded, and we hope to announce the awards for STAR in November. We'll then spend December working on proposal modifications and negotiating the agreements, and the goal is to have the projects to start in January to coincide with the winter semester as close as we possibly can. Another part of STAR that has remained the same is that the duration will still dictate the overall dollar amount for the award, the payment schedule for the disbursements of the grant, and then also when draft report submissions are due. We still have 4 different durations. A 4 and 6 month long STAR project will be funded at $50,000. A 12 or 18 month long project will be funded at $100,000. Also remaining the same for STAR is the limitation on indirect costs. Those are limited to 5% of the funding amount. This is part of the award. It is not in addition to the award. So if you receive a $50,000 STAR award, a maximum of $2,500 can be used for indirect, leaving $47,500 for actual costs to conduct the research. $100,000 grant has a maximum indirect rate of $5,000, leaving $95,000 to actually support the work. Now, individual universities may opt to assess a lower indirect amount rate or choose not to put any indirect on it at all. That is completely at the discretion of the university. They just cannot exceed 5%. And one thing to keep in mind, folks, in Ohio, tuition is still not an eligible use of SP&RB funds. Now, a few things that have changed just a tad for STAR that you guys will want to be made aware of is ODOT's Office of Chief Legal Counsel recently reviewed the contract. Our standard language has been adjusted for the STAR projects. Some of the areas of the contract that have changed is the patent and copyright indemnity section. This has been divided into two separate parts. One is focused on public universities, the other is focused on private universities. There's been some clarifications added to the suspension and termination of the agreement to provide more information on what suspension of work actually looks like. The responsibilities for claims section has also been divided into two different areas, one focusing on public universities, the other on private. And the miscellaneous section of the contract has been clarified to make the effective date of the agreement a little bit easier to understand. And then the additions to the agreement section has just been completely removed. In addition to those changes, some little minor clarifications and adjustments have been made. Some of that relates to terminology. Chief Legal has replaced the term contract with the term agreement, and they wanted to make sure it was clear that whenever the agreement refers to study or project, they mean the same thing. Those are interchangeable. There was a tad bit of clarification on the report section, making it easier to understand about the prior written consent that's required for disclosing results or details on the research while the agreement is still in force. And then a slight clarification on equipment and instrumentation so that the inventory process better aligns with what's actually stated in the research manual. So those of you who are thinking about putting in for a STAR, you will want to reach out to your sponsored programs or your research office at your university and let them know that there has been some clarifications to the standard agreement. They are available online, and they will also be directly on the STAR RFP webpage when it goes live as well. Just so they have a chance to take a look at those, review them, and make sure that it's something they can actually sign before you spend a lot of time putting together either your proposal or your submission to STAR. ODOT will not negotiate the language of the standard agreements, so you might want to make sure you check before you put a lot of effort into moving forward. So how can you actually participate in STAR? Well, the way we did it during the pilot is still a way that's available now. ODOT offices can provide us very specific topics that they would like to be addressed by teams of students at universities based in Ohio in the form of a STAR RFP. And when we post those, what we're expecting to see from your research teams is a full, complete STAR proposal. Well, new for this coming year, the ODOT offices have a second option, and that is to post an open call for universities in Ohio to propose topics back to us. For that, the research teams will be putting together a white paper that you will submit through an online form. So let's look at each of these two options a little closer and see how they work. The first option is ODOT specifying a topic. So what are you going to see when the RFP posts? And how is that going to be different from what you saw last year? Well, the first thing you'll see in the RFP is the actual topic or the area of interest that ODOT wants you to focus on. The nice update of this is it is going to be more than one sentence. More information is going to be provided on that actual topic itself. A new section is being added to the RFP about the goals of the research. And this is to help show you what ODOT is looking to get out of doing the research on the topic so you understand more what to focus on. Another new section has been added to the RFP about potential benefits. This is to help submitters understand how ODOT might use the findings of the research. All of these changes are being done to help submitters have a better understanding of what ODOT really wants from the STAR topics, but to yet still be broad enough to allow you guys an opportunity to be innovative in what you're submitting and how you're approaching the topics. The rest of the RFP is going to look somewhat familiar. There's still going to be a section on the expertise that ODOT believes is needed in order to successfully conduct the research. There's also going to be a part that talks about the duration of the study. Some of these, ODOT is going to specify what the actual duration is. On other RFPs, they're leaving it up to you, the submitters, to decide, do you want to do it in 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months? There will also be a part on the RFP that reminds you of the funding. If ODOT specified the duration, we'll also specify the funding amount. If we left it open for you guys to decide it, then we'll have a reminder there to remind you which ones get $50,000 in funding and which ones get $100,000 in funding. That's what will be actually on the RFPs. If you're interested in responding to one of those RFPs, then you need to submit a full-blown STAR proposal. The guidelines for STAR proposals have not changed from what they were last year. However, you need to make sure you read them very carefully. They are a modified version of ODOT's standard proposal format, but there is a large emphasis placed on student involvement and innovation that is different from the standard guidelines. So one of the telltale signs to look at is the color of the proposal formatting guideline document you're looking at. If what you're looking at is blue or green, you've got the wrong format. Go back to the website and get the one that has yellow on it. That's the one that's utilized for STAR. Make sure you read all the requirements real closely. As we mentioned earlier, STAR is a grant program, and as a grant program, it does not require an itemized budget form to be provided. The duration dictates the dollar amount of your grant. Now, your university may require you to provide an itemized budget for their internal accounting purposes and to set up your funds in case you get selected, but that's between you and your university. ODOT has nothing to do with that, and we do not want to see it. So you prepare your STAR proposal and you submit it online by the submission deadline that's noted in the RFP. What is going to happen to it from there? Well, it's going to get evaluated by ODOT. Now, overall, the evaluation process for STAR, it's pretty much the same as it was last year, but there's been some minor tweaks and modifications to how we actually are going to assess them. The top 4 items that you see on the screen here are evaluated by ODOT's research section. All 4 of those bullets must be met in order for your proposal to be forwarded on to the technical panel for review. If any of those are not met, then your proposal gets disqualified and it is not sent on. First, you must be responding to a topic that's included in the posting. You must be submitting it from a college or university that is based in Ohio. If you're an out-of-state university, we're very sorry, we're not going to be able to accept your application. You must have a team comprised of a minimum of 2 students and 1 academic advisor. You may have more than that if you choose, but that's the minimum. And in the submission, there must be information included on the students in the proposal, or else it's considered non-eligible. Once those have been vetted through, we go through and do the actual review of the proposal based on the grid that you see on the screen with the technical panel. These are the same categories that were looked at last year. What's changed is we no longer assign a point value to each of these categories. It's a simple yes or no. We'll look at your proposal in terms of concept and innovation. Does it have a clear concept? Does it have goals and objectives that align with ODOT's goals and objectives? And is there anything about the submission overall that's innovative? We'll look at the work plan that's detailed in the proposal to see if it makes sense, if it's consistent with the goals and objectives, if it's well thought out. Does it include enough detail to actually evaluate it? Is it realistic, and is there anything in the work plan that could be considered innovative or novel? We'll look at your proposal holistically to determine whether or not it clearly shows that you understand the current state of practice. Do you understand the topic you're addressing and what's currently happening in that field? We then focus on the overall benefits that are described in the proposal. Does it actually outline benefits? Does it provide more information than the benefits that are listed on the actual RFP that was posted? Does it explain how ODOT could use those results? And is it something that ODOT realistically could actually use? Another thing that we'll look at is whether or not your submission has the potential for larger application beyond ODOT. Now, that is not a deal breaker. That's just something that gets you a little further closer to a yes than to a no. But it's not a mandatory requirement, but it is something that they do consider, so that's why we put it up there for you. Well, then take a look at your research team that's been assembled to figure out whether or not the team overall has the expertise and experience needed to conduct a work. Do you have the availability to actually do the stuff that you've said you're going to do? And do you have access to equipment facilities that you need to have in order to conduct it? Once the TAC vets through all that, they get asked a very simple question as to whether or not they'd like to move forward with contracting for your submission. If they do, they'll get an opportunity to provide feedback to you to let you know of things that they would like you to consider including in your proposal and making revisions. We might end up giving your team a call to schedule a meeting between you and the TAC so that you can talk about your submission in a little more detail if the TAC would like to do that. Or they can opt to not move forward with pursuing a contract. If that's their option, we will get an explanation from them so that we can provide you with feedback so you know what they liked, what they didn't like, and what you could do for future submissions that would make your proposals more appealing. Now, we mentioned there are two options for participating in STAR for this new round for fiscal year 2024. And that is allowing you, university teams, to submit your ideas to ODOT. What is that going to look like? Well, you're going to see, instead of an RFP, a request for ideas. On that request, you will see the name of the office that wants to look at your ideas. There will also be a description of that office's mission, vision, or goals so that you have a better understanding of what it is that office does. And then you will also see areas that are of unique interest to that office so that you can propose something that has a better chance of being selected. Now, it's important to note that if there is an office that has not requested to receive ideas through the STAR program from universities, you will not see their name in a posting. Ideas that are submitted for offices that have not requested to receive ideas will not be forwarded. So there are several offices that are asking for ideas from universities, but not every office within the department. So make sure that you're responding to someone who has asked for it. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. That's what you actually see online that will be posted. What you do with that is you develop a white paper. The white papers are going to be submitted online via a form stack form. Unfortunately, our form does not have the capability of allowing you to save your submission, come back later, edit it, and then submit it right before the deadline. So we've developed a template in Microsoft Word that is going to be available on the STAR RFP site that you can use to help you develop your white paper. Make it up on the Word document. Once you're happy with it, then you can go online, pull the form up, and copy and paste it directly onto the online form. Pay very, very close attention to character limits. Every section of the white paper has a limitation on the maximum number of characters you can put. The form will cut you off. It will not let you go beyond that. It just deletes anything past that limit. So pay close attention to those limits when you're putting your white paper together. So what does the white paper actually look like? Well, the very first part of it is very crucial and important contact information so that if we pick your idea, we know how to get a hold of you to ask you to move forward into proposal development. So make sure you fill that out completely. Next from there, there's a drop-down menu that you will select the STAR topic that you are submitting your idea to. This is basically the name of the office that asked for ideas. The next section that you will put in on your white paper is in 3,000 characters or less. You will explain to us what's your research idea. What's the problem that you are going to focus your research on? Then in 2,000 characters or less, you're going to tell us what the goals and objectives of your research idea are. This will let the office know what the research is expected to achieve and what are specific actionable targets that are going to be done in order to meet that goal. The next part of the white paper is focusing on how you intend to address your research idea. In 3,000 characters or less, you're going to give us a very high-level overview of how you plan to conduct the research. This is not expected to be a full-blown work plan at this point. Most likely, you'll need more than 3,000 characters to do a full-blown work plan. This is just at high level so that the office understands that if you are picked to do research on this topic you're proposing, here's how you plan on moving it forward. One thing we do ask you to point out within those 3,000 characters is if there's any special assistance you need from ODOT, such as data sets or access to field sites or anything that would be more than technical oversight and direction and advice from a technical advisory committee. Be sure to mention that in there so that the program office understands that if they pick your idea, they're going to need to give you a little bit more than the standard overview during the course of the study. The next section on the white paper provides you 2,000 characters to explain how ODOT or the state of Ohio overall could benefit if they picked you to do this research idea you're proposing. What are we going to gain from this? How is it going to impact ODOT? And how does this specifically relate to the mission, vision, or goals that was provided by the office in the request that was posted online? The next section of the white paper gives you 2,000 characters to explain to us what is innovative about this research that you want to do. Is it the idea itself that's innovative? Is it the approach that you're going to use? Whatever that may be, just keep in mind the definition for the STAR program of innovation, so that way you can make sure that you're explaining it in the same terms that the offices will be evaluating it. After that, there'll be a nifty little drop-down menu where you can tell us how long it's going to take you to do the work that you're proposing. There will also be a little reminder in there as to the dollar amounts that each of the durations apply to, so that you realize, are you applying for a $50,000 or a $100,000 STAR grant? The next portion of the white paper is going to be an optional upload for providing visual aids. So we've been giving you guys a lot of character limits when it comes to what you can put into your sections. And we realize that sometimes pictures are better than 1,000 words. And you only have 2,000 to 3,000 characters, so it might be a little difficult to convey some of the concepts that you're trying to explain. If you have some graphics, some tables, some figures, or any other visual type of aid that you would like to use to help supplement your submission, you will be allowed to upload one document on the form that includes all of those visual aids. So anywhere within your sections that you want to reference some type of graphic, reference it like figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, and then you can put those figures in your one document, include the reference number, and scan and upload that so that when reviewers are reading your sections of your white paper, they can reference back to that so that they can get that visual aid to show them what it is you're talking about. Do not upload versions of the entire white paper in this section. Don't upload literature searches, no resumes, no letters of recommendations, nothing like that. Only visual aids that help supplement the write-up will be accepted and forwarded on to the reviewers. Anything else will not be provided to them. The final section of the white paper is giving us information on the team members that's going to be conducting the work if it's selected. There's specific boxes for the academic advisor and the minimum requirement of 2 students. However, there will be a box underneath that that does not have a limit where you can add additional team members. As we said earlier, you can have as many students on STAR projects as you'd like working as team members. You can put their information in the box so that you have enough information on everyone who's going to be participating. Now, if your idea is selected, we realize that things can happen throughout the course of developing into a proposal and then on into contracting and actual execution of projects. Team members may be subject to change during the development of the proposal or throughout the course of the project with approval from ODOT. However, you need to make sure that minimum requirement of 2 students and 1 academic advisor is maintained for the entire life of the project. And that team adjustment thing applies to the STAR RFP as well as it does to the actual white papers. So what happens to your white paper when you send it in? Well, it's going to get evaluated. The evaluation is very similar to how we evaluate your RFPs. The same 4 items and criteria are applied to the STAR ideas. The research program reviews those items. If the answer to any of those is no, then the item is disqualified and not forwarded for technical review. If it is, you get to go on to the technical folks where they will look at your idea for 2 main categories. Again, no points are going to be assigned. It's going to be a simple yes or no. Does your idea have a concept and an innovation that is clear and defined well in your idea submission? And does it align with the office's mission, visions, or goals that was stated in the request for ideas? Does it explain the benefits that may come from doing this research? Are they realistic benefits that ODOT could actually use? And then you also look at that extra nod if it has a potential for a larger application beyond ODOT. Again, that's not necessarily mandatory. It just gets you a little closer to a yes. The technical team will review and discuss your submission of your idea, and then we will ask them if they want to move forward with developing a full-blown proposal and potentially contracting on the idea. If the answer is yes, you will be asked to provide a full-blown STAR proposal, and you will need to follow the STAR proposal formatting guidelines. ODOT will also provide you items they would like for you to take into consideration when you're developing your proposal from what they thought about reading of your idea. We strongly encourage you to actually include the items ODOT technical folks have asked you to consider in developing your proposal. They may decide they want to have a call with you, which if they do, we'll coordinate that so that they can discuss your idea in more detail and provide you some further guidance or refinements for your proposal development. If they decide they do not want to move forward with actually contracting for this idea, we'll get some details from them so that we can provide you with feedback so you understand why they've decided not to move forward at this time. So whether you're applying to an RFP or you're submitting an actual idea to STAR, ODOT offices still have the option, as they did last time around, to pick more than 1 proposal or idea submission based upon their availability to be on multiple projects and the availability of funds within the research program to fund that many studies. They also have the option to not select anything that's submitted for either their RFP or their idea request. Now, just because your original proposal may have been accepted or your idea had been accepted does not mean you're guaranteed a contract. ODOT can request changes to proposals as often as need be, and until ODOT and the research team are both in agreement on the final proposal, that is when a contract is issued. If we cannot come to full agreement on a final proposal, then the contract will no longer be pursued and the project will not take place. Now, if you are successful in obtaining a STAR award, you will still need to do invoicing. The invoicing process has not changed, but we are pointing it out because it is very different from how it is on regular projects. So you will need to work closely with your grant accounting office or your sponsored program office to make sure that they understand how the sample invoicing for STAR occurs. There are no individual budget categories that come to ODOT. Everything is either a direct charge or an indirect charge. There is also no list of massive receipts that have to be provided on a STAR project. Your backup documentation needs to be the schedule with a very strong, thick line drawn on it showing where the progress of the project is at the time of billing. This part is very important. You need to make sure that your accounting folks understand that they need to send this in. If not, we will be sending the invoice back asking for them to give it to us. The note that is at the very bottom of the screen referencing additional details, please refer to presentations provided at monthly status meetings. That is also very important. It needs to be on that actual backup invoice. And if the project is ever audited, either by the state or the federal government, those monthly status meetings and the presentations that the student teams develop and present is what we will use for backup to confirm the project has progressed to the point that the invoice claims it has. I mentioned at the very beginning that STAR is an award, and that's how we're treating this, and we get special recognition for the folks that win STAR projects. And we were actually successful this year. If any of you are going to be at OTEC, we encourage you to come out into the exhibit hall. Our STAR projects are going to be showcased in the exhibit hall. They will each have their own booths. Please stop by and check them out. You'll get to talk directly with the students about the exciting projects that they're doing, the great things that they're learning, and where the projects are going. So it's a special opportunity for them to showcase their work and also network with the thousands of transportation professionals that attend OTEC on an annual basis. Now the STAR RFP, we expect it to be posted and open next week. If you want to make sure that you get notification of it going live right away, go to the research website. You can see the address there on the screen. If you have not signed up to be on our listserv to be contacted with information, make sure you sign up. That way you'll get notification the moment it goes live. It will close in October, approximately 4 weeks after it goes live. It will have a strict deadline submission of 3 p.m. Eastern time. Please do not contact ODOT technical staff if you are planning or trying to submit on a STAR idea. Whether it is a full-blown RFP or it is the send us your ideas, do not reach out to the technical offices and say, hey, I got this idea I'm thinking about putting in for STAR, what do you think? They will not talk to you about it. They will refer you to us, but they will remember your name and it will remind them that you cannot follow directions. And that is not the impression that you want to give. I know I covered quite a bit of information. We went through it a bit quickly. So if there are any questions, more than happy to take those.
Vicki, at this time, there are no questions in the questions pod.
Okay, well, it was pretty straightforward, the changes that we've made. The presentation, as Paula said, has been recorded. We will make that recording available on the STAR RFP page. In case you have can't remember everything that I said, you can go back and look at it. Or if you have colleagues that you know of that are interested in the program but would like to have a little bit more clarification between the two different options, you'll be able to pull up this presentation and fast forward to that part and hear that clarification again. When it does go live, if you do have any questions at that point, there will be a way to submit an official clarification to either an RFP or an idea. Please follow that process to submit it. Or you can also contact the research office. We'll be more than happy to explain any of the new procedures to you to help you be able to submit applications that ODOT folks will be interested in pursuing. With that, I thank you all for joining me and your time.
One question did come in, Vicki, real quick. Does office mean the lab?
Usually when we say office, we're talking about the program offices, like the Office of Materials Management, the Office of Pavement Engineering, Office of Technical Services. The test lab is part of the Office of Materials Management. So if you're talking about that part, if you see anything that references the Office of Materials Management, that would include the test lab.
And that was the only question.
All right, well, if you come up with any questions afterwards, our email address is right there on the screen. Feel free to shoot us an email. We will get you an answer. Otherwise, I thank you all for your time in joining us, and we look forward to receiving some really good submissions for STAR this year.